You're listening to Two Chunks and a Hunk, a movie podcast where we give pumps and dumps.
Hello and welcome to Two Chunks and a Hunk. My name is Jordan Wonders, and this week I'm your chunk.
I'm Doge, and I'm too chunk to function?
There it is.
And I'm Carter. Gretchen, I'm sorry I laughed at you that time you got Hunk at Barnes & Noble.
Barnes and Nobles.
Barnes and Nobles.
That's what the quote
Plural.
is.
Plural. There's so many books there, it's two stores.
Plural.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's not the word that we need to focus on, though, from that sentence.
It's the hunk one.
Why are you that?
Guys, 'tis the season, as we all know,
Yeah.
for fantasy
Candy.
football
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
and real football.
Yeah.
I'm excited for both. I'm very excited for the teams I've drafted.
Wow, yeah.
And
Who
I'd
do you
love
have,
to run a
JPJ?
couple of them. Yep. I got JPJ. I actually do have a Julio Jones,
Okay, that's
which
pretty
is,
much.
that was one of my first picks.
Yeah.
Yep. Leonard Fournette. We feel good about that one, don't we?
Lenny.
Skinnerd.
Yeah. How do you think David Montgomery will do this year as a rookie?
Here's the thing with David that a lot of people aren't really taking into consideration. Yeah, he's a rookie. Yeah, he's fresh.
Jordan's
but
Sports Corner.
he's
right now.
got the legs. You know what I mean?
I mean, people would say that.
Yeah, that's what people aren't focusing on.
You maybe. Would you like to hear the names of some of my fantasy teams?
More than anything.
Yes.
One of them, a good friend of mine, Grayson Hatfield. You ever have just a language that gets developed with friends and
Yes.
no one would really understand it outside? It's called the social convergence theory. If we're getting really professory right now.
It's back to school, baby. We can
It's
get as
back to
professor as we
school.
want.
And so I started calling him, his name's Grayson, but I started calling him Guchin. Hi, Guchin. And he started calling me Kitten. And so we were Guchin and Kitten. And so this team name I've had for the longest is Kittens. And my profile picture is just this big old tabby cat with a helmet on that's way too small for his cute, squishy face.
Okay.
So Kittens. And then I've got one called, it's got a Marvel reference in there.
Okay.
It is
I'm
a
listening.
nice cartoon drawing of the Infinity Gauntlet snapping. It's called Snap Count, which is also referred to in football.
Yeah.
You could say reference, and it became a referred to.
You got a little Goldblum there. You got stuck in that Goldblum loop.
And then there's what is the other one? Oh, so one of them has something to do a little bit with Shiver Me Septembers and the Pirates.
Okay.
This is our next series. Last year, I had a team that my first pick was Saquon Barkley.
Sure,
Saquon
yeah,
Barkley is
Barkley.
a rookie, so it was called Saquon John Silvers.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
That is
So,
very good.
That's fun. That's usually a bit, as we all know, like naming a team is culturally
the biggest deal.
one of the most fun parts of it.
That coming up with a team name is genuinely the only part about fantasy sports that makes me excited. I would love to do that. Hey, hire me. I'll name your fantasy sport team for you.
Yeah, $5 a pop.
It's gonna be
I'll
real
come up with some
unique.
names.
Find me on
I bet
Fiverr.
no one else has that name.
probably true.
That's not being
we
sarcastic.
did a fantasy basketball league at work. Is that what it's called? March Madness. That's the one. And the name that I came up with, my team didn't use, but I thought it was pretty good. Can I share it with you?
Please.
It was called Dr. Ibble's Basketball Bouncers. And I think that one was
Dr.
pretty good.
Ibbles.
How did I already know this?
Maybe
Did you
I
tell me
texted
this?
you about it. I was very proud of it.
I won our work March Madness bracket, and I am still owed a $50
we've
gift
talked
card.
about this because when we did our Spring Delirium,
Delirium.
it was all the
Yeah,
Disney sidekicks.
that's right.
These conversations got brought up.
That's
it.
right.
Because
What was
I
your
remember
team?
thinking you're the exact kind of person that would win March Madness.
What was your team name?
I don't remember.
It's a good one.
I don't remember the name of my team. Probably something better than yours, though. Got him.
Because we didn't use Dr. Ibble.
That's true.
Dr.
Hey,
Abel.
it's back to school. It's the last one.
It is.
Can you
School's
believe
almost
that it's
out.
already over?
almost summer?
School's out for summer. That's crazy. But being the last one, that means there was only one possible movie left.
Oh, it had to be.
It had to be this one.
It's always been this one.
We always do this and tease it up like people have no idea what we're talking about. It's the episode title.
The episode title isn't the movie we're going to do.
I bet you can't wait to know what movie.
Ooh, guys, do you know what we're talking about? It's that little movie you probably never heard of, that indie hit It's called Mean Girls. And Doge, have you written your thesis statement, 4 body paragraphs, and conclusion in order to hand in your final exam?
Absolutely.
Your synopsis?
I submitted it through turnitin.com. So it is not plagiarized, and I definitely did write all of this myself. This week's synopsis comes from IMDb user Max Alexander, whose username happens to be iHeartAshley2sdale.
Who tried out for a part and didn't get it in this movie, by the way.
Wait, are you serious?
Man.
Yeah.
That's why Max hates
She
this
tried
movie.
out
I'm
for
just kidding.
Gretchen.
No way.
She didn't get it.
That's funny.
Max writes, Katie Heron moves to a new home from the bush country of Africa. She goes to a new school where she meets Janice and Damien. Her new friends warn her to stay away from the plastics, the A-list, popular, crude, and beautiful clique headed by Regina George with Gretchen and Karen. When Katie sees Aaron Samuels, she falls in love. When Regina discovers this, she seeks revenge by taking and dangling Aaron in front of Katie. Now Katie, Janice, and Damien plot to bring Regina's status down. However, as Katie continues to spend more time with the plastics, she begins to become one of them.
Ooh. Spooky.
Are there too many names in that synopsis?
Yeah,
Isn't that kind of confusing if you're
buried
trying
the
to
lead
tell
big
people?
time.
You gave me 5 different.
Yeah.
I don't know what the subject is or who.
Yeah. To be fair, all Max purports to do is love Ashley Tisdale.
Yeah, that's true.
Max does not claim to write IMDb synopsis
That's
on the same level
And
as
here's the
Nick
thing.
Reganis.
I'm gonna come before it even happens and give an apology here.
Okay.
When we get into like the fall and spring, I might not have noticed it before, but I notice it now. I become an editor. I grade a lot of papers. If I am just way too critical about some of these synopsi, forgive me. Because I'm just like, oh, well.
Oh, yikes.
It's just like
You got too many
be better.
generalities there. Like, let's get rid of the its and the theirs. I mean, I don't know what you're talking about anymore. I mean, I know what you're talking about, but in terms of like, if we're trying to publish,
This is
no
never
one's
going to
gonna
make it
know
to
what you're
print, is what
it's
you're
not
saying.
going to make it.
Yeah. No, I hear that.
But that stuff will definitely make it to the episode, dude.
I'm already tired.
So while we're talking about names, this feels like
Perfect. I can't wait to see where this goes.
we talked last week.
Jeez, critical Carter's even on the podcast.
We talked last week about fictional names and things.
Yes.
And the more I've thought about that a lot over the last week and been thinking about like one of my favorite things about Parks and Rec is Michael Schur's ability to come up with
Stu Lurpus is the greatest one-off character name I've ever
Stu
heard.
Lurpus,
Yes.
Perd Hapley, Dante Fierro turning his name into Dennis Feinstein. Like all of these names are so good. And he does it in every show that he has. And something I've realized is a lot of shows with the humor that I like
have these kind of
these
names.
great names.
That's great.
And Mean Girls, dude, Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, they wrote this together, right?
Yes.
And they're was it just Tina Fey?
Tina Fey is the only one credited.
Okay.
Yeah.
Her ability, 30 Rock does this as well. Her ability to come up with names is up there with Michael Schur's, I think.
She's so great.
You've got things like my super pump was almost the fact that this movie contains the name Gretchen Wieners.
Yeah.
It's just too much.
Yeah.
But all of these names are so good. And then you've got like Karen Smith.
Dude. So dull. And you know that there's maybe someone listening right now named Karen Smith because of how common it is.
I actually
So we're
know a
sorry for
Karen
that.
Smith. I don't think there's any chance
There it
her
is.
or any relatives are listening to this, but I do know a Karen Smith.
Talking about, Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, they brought about, I don't know, I just feel like for generations, at least decades, comedy was overrun by males.
Yes.
Yeah.
By men. I don't think it's that way anymore.
No.
And if it's either even or it's women. Because you have like when things like Mean Girls was a big thing towards the beginning of that. Just Tina Fey and Amy Poehler in general.
Sure.
The fact that the highlights and the majority of the cast for those highlights was women, because then you would have Kristen Wiig and now you have oh my goodness gracious. She's hilarious.
Maya
Rudolph.
Kate McKinnon.
Kate McKinnon.
Kate McKinnon, dude, and
Is my
Cecily
spirit
Strong.
Strong.
A.D. Bryant. Right now they have, they just lost Vanessa Bayer a couple seasons ago. She was a huge loss to the show.
Heidi Gardner's
great.
Yeah.
Like so many of the strongest cast members are women in SNL right
SNL
now.
cast, by the way,
SNL cast. But I think you're absolutely right. I think I'm not saying that Tina Fey and Amy Poehler made women realize they could be funny so much as I think they made America go, have we been overlooking some of the funniest people?
They kicked the doors down.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, for sure. And for them to be in complete control of the narrative of these stories too is even more credit. It's not just playing, or it's not like a Chris Farley where you just go in and act crazy. Not that he was just only known for that. But the reason I bring this up too is, so when Chelsea and I were dating, some of the stuff that we would do would be share movies. This was my idea because this is how I'll get to know somebody.
Yeah.
I also was using it to my advantage. Like the movies that I would share would be really long ones, which would mean we just get to spend more time together watching a movie. But then Chelsea, we used to joke about it.
She'd show you these like 15-minute short films and be like, okay, you can go now.
Yeah. She's like, oh, there.
Let's watch Steamboat Willie tonight.
But her entire collection, which by the way, there used to be libraries of DVDs, and people still do that. I don't anymore. Something that really broke my heart is I took a bunch of them to Half Price Books because Chelsea and I,
you're a digital family now.
We're basically digital, and we've been married for 3 years and had already moved 3 different places, and so boxes of DVDs on top of all these moves that we've done. I was like, it's time, and it was really hard. It was 200, DVD sleeves and. Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah.
But most of Chelsea's library had like a pink and white spine.
Sure, yeah.
Legally Blonde, like all these
Great
things.
Movie.
And then one day she chooses Mean Girls, which I hadn't seen. And I was just kind of ignorant too. I hadn't seen Mean Girls until maybe 2013 or 14.
Wow.
Like a decade after it came out.
Yeah.
And maybe the next day she showed me Bridesmaids, which had come out very recently during that time. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
These are some of the funniest movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just because what culture had not given me a chance to see something like this. But yeah, I felt ignorant and I was like, oh my gosh.
Jess showed me Mean Girls for the first time this past January.
Yeah.
Like earlier, like 7 months ago.
Yeah.
8 months ago. Had never seen it.
It's just
a
hilarious.
Really similar thing. Yeah.
It's hilarious. And I love anything Amy Poehler and Tina Fey do.
Yes. If they touch it, it's going to turn to gold to me.
Yeah.
Man, and the one trivia that I have to get out of the way before I forget it, and I know we haven't even really got into the plot of the story yet, but the guy who gives Katie the card that he's an MC and he's a mathlete.
Yeah. Kevin Napor.
Yeah. They coached him on how to rap. Amy Poehler and Tina Fey
were
his rap coaches.
No way.
What a
incredible.
fun, just make me a fly on the wall for whatever 15 minutes that was.
Do you think they'd be willing to be our podcast coaches?
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get them in.
I would love
to
that.
Punch up the show.
I would love that.
Please. Yeah, oh my goodness. It's just, so let's get started because honestly the plot is not the important part. Like the actual winding path is not the important part here.
Yeah.
So we can start to kind of walk down it a little bit. But Katie moves with her family from Africa.
Hilarious.
She's never
from the
gone.
start.
Yes.
From the very beginning, this is going to be a really funny, witty movie.
Yes, and unique, I think is
I would say
the biggest thing.
Yeah.
It's such a unique way to look at high school through the lens of...
she's an alien.
Right.
And this is when Thor came to Earth in the first Thor movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's never been to public school. She hasn't lived in America before. And so there's just so many new things to learn.
Oh my gosh.
And on the first day, she starts a-learning.
This is going to be one of those impossible... This is going to be one of the ones where we leave recording and are like, why didn't I not bring that up?
I know. It's just
so much.
Littered.
It's so dense.
With humor.
I feel like that's Tina Fey's style, though. We're doing a rewatch of 30... Well,
Same.
it's a rewatch for me of 30 Rock. Jess has never seen it.
Same.
And like...
I mean, Poehler does that too.
Yeah, they're both like, it is so dense. Like they don't... I feel like part of their unique style is like, don't give the audience time to respond to the first joke before you tell the second one.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's that makes their stuff so hard to talk about because I want to talk about everything and you don't catch things. Like this is the second time I'd seen this and I did not like all the foreshadowing. There's so many times we talk about getting hit by a bus.
Yeah.
Like all of that went completely over my head the
Katie
first time.
almost gets hit the second she walks to the school.
Yeah.
She dodges the bus, like it passes right behind her. She doesn't get hit. And then she makes several references to it. Hit me like a school bus.
Yeah.
Yep.
She comes to these realizations where it hits her like a school bus. Yeah. There's we called it Chekhov's bus last night.
Yeah.
I almost super pumped just the writing, like Tina Fey's writing. And sorry, I'm getting eyes from somebody in here that might be what it was. But one of the things that I appreciate most in story writing, and a lot of the times it comes up a lot in comedy.
Yeah.
But just in general, is when we are not being spoon fed. They are crediting us as the viewer to know things.
Okay.
Or to be smart enough to know things.
I'm just going to super pump now because
sorry.
it's going to be hard. Yeah. So my super, it was tough for me to decide on this as my super pump because there's so much I love about this. I'd kicked around several different characters or groups of characters, whatever. But ultimately, it's Tina Fey's writing.
Yeah.
She is just unmatched.
Yeah.
Her wit and the speed with which the jokes are delivered and like the care with which they're placed. 30 Rock is just like this. She's also the showrunner there as well. Or writer at least of the show.
Yeah. Writer of the show and plays the writer of the show.
Right. But like
funny.
that style of meta humor, the quick rapid fire where it's like it rewards rewatches because you're missing stuff. But then like I realized that everything I was going to super pump, the characters, the situations, all of those things harken back straight to, well, I mean, she wrote those.
Right.
They're because of her.
Right.
And just her script for this movie and her vision it's why this movie is still just as good 15 years later.
Yeah. I can't imagine how much pressure there must have been to be an actress in this movie and come in and be like, hey, you're going to be a comedic actress in a comedy that is written by Tina Fey. And by the way, she also has a big role in this.
Yeah, you're going to act alongside her, by the way.
She'll be there.
Yeah,
she'll be watching.
She's going to be on set every day.
She's calling the shots on that.
Gosh.
Yeah. That's got to be...
It's going to be so intimidating.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But I feel like she's not... I would be intimidated regardless. But it feels like quickly she's going to be someone who is really kind to you.
Yes.
And has... Well, I've heard that from people that have worked with her.
Well, and one of the things I love about Tina Fey is I would guess... I've never heard her talk about it, but I would guess she was probably equally intimidated to be around all of these like high school aged people, probably because she's just like, too much.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I don't know if you guys know this. Do you know what happened with the scar on her face? Isn't that crazy?
No.
She was
a crazy story.
It was a knife attack as a child.
Oh my
she was
gosh.
a child.
Some rando.
In her front yard.
Just does it in the front yard.
Dude just runs up and slashes her face with a knife.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you watch the interview she had, I think, with Jimmy Fallon or somebody, and was talking about like that's been a hard part of her of being a mom?
Yeah.
Like she didn't realize she would be so
Carry that
hesitant
fear.
to like have her kid be alone in the front yard.
Yeah.
But just that trauma.
Yeah.
That's so crazy to
That
me.
is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So just a little nugget in
Yeah,
there.
super lighthearted. Very fun,
Honestly, no,
easy
I
to
think
breeze
there's a way
past.
that we can tie in. I mean, there's a lot of legitimacy to going through something awful and finding humor in that and then making that your career. Because that happens more often than you think in terms of like taking something that's morbid and then because of the influence that humor had on getting you through it, like that becoming your flagship product, like your mantra. Like other people need this to get through if this thing happens to them someday.
It's the reason Jordan Peele is such a great horror writer. Comedy and like the light and the dark of comedy and horror, or comedy and sadness. I mean, they are so closely
What's the
related to
thing,
one another.
Comedy equals tragedy plus time.
Yeah.
That thing. Yeah.
I mean, maybe all of them, but Robin Williams, the nominations he had for Best Actor or Supporting Actor are all really dramatic pieces.
Yeah.
And really morbid movies.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. It's a good point. So as we sort of move through this, the important bit to hit here is that Katie meets her two friends.
Janice
on this first
and
date.
Damien.
Janice
gosh,
and Damien.
they're amazing.
They are amazing.
I was trying to see if there was any kind of reference from Janus, the character in this, to Janus, the Roman god of doorways. Janus is often shown with two faces, and he was the god of doorways and invoked at the beginning of a new year. And so there was a face. That's why January is named after Janus.
Oh my gosh.
And so there's a face that looks behind and a face that looks forward. And so Janus always presents one of these two faces when he interacts with mortals. There's nothing. There's no reason. But that's cool.
That's amazing. I do know that Janice Ian is her last name's Ian, I think.
I think so.
Was I think the actual full name, either part of the name or the full name of the very first musical act on SNL.
That would be where it comes
that Tina
from.
Fey is paying some homage to. And then also the fact that Janice Ian was actually a lesbian. And so it also tied into the script rumors of Janice being a lesbian, only to find out she's Lebanese, which was also a really old vaudeville kind of joke for a long time in comedy.
Yeah. That is pretty
fascinating. What you should just give us a month a week and tell us what the name came from. There
12,
used to
12
be
straight weeks.
8 hills and 8 tobers. Hence the name October.
8 tobers.
8 tobers.
Tober is a
Do you
dude
think-
that works in a surf shop.
I'm pretty sure.
My name is Tober.
I'm pretty sure each of all the boys at the beginning of this movie. That's like, and on the third day, God made the Remington. I think all of them
They're
are named
Tober.
Tober.
Made the Remington rifle.
Tober. My name.
Gosh.
Hey, also that bit at the beginning is also
Hilarious.
very
Very
good.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're not careful, this whole episode's gonna be. And that bit, very
So
good,
funny.
And that one, very
The
good.
kind of things that you don't have to listen to a podcast to do with your
Right,
friends.
Let's meet some characters. So we got Janice, who's not named after any Roman deity whatsoever.
Right, we've
No.
got Damien, who's probably not named after the kid from The Omen.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about how hard it would be to balance with only 8 Tobers?
Here's the big question. Why the lisp?
I don't know.
The worst
That's the
part,
kind of person that thinks, I don't know.
the worst part of that joke was how proud you clearly were of it in your face. Just watching you think and deliver
Let's
that.
dignify that joke by putting it out of its misery, Old Yeller style, and move back to Damien.
Yeah, let's go to
so
Damien.
Damien's probably not named after the kid from The Omen, I would guess.
Probably not.
Just if we're talking about.
Actually, it's what if that was I had the Greek mythology? She chose Damien because he's the god of pink shirts.
yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's probably
Guys,
it.
I love Damien so much.
He's so
Damien's
funny.
great. His
One of my favorite
his
characters.
scream when she comes into the basement dressed like the zombie wife is so funny.
The ex-wife, yes.
But we meet also on this day. So we get our classic click walkthrough.
Yeah.
What table were y'all sitting at? Did we talk about this?
Think so. I
Yeah,
don't
Jordan
remember.
made me sit at the band table.
Yeah, I did. I did make you sit at the band table.
I might be over there with Damien and Janice.
I think I probably would like. I would like to be.
I would most likely end up
But-
being with them.
I would normally make a point to befriend the villain, like the whoever is in power,
Sure.
so I don't have to deal with
you'd
those
be
issues.
Katie.
I might be Katie,
Mm.
Interesting.
just less
You have the
ignorant.
Beautiful red hair,
That's me.
long and
Interesting.
flowing.
Now
Carter.
we do meet the Plastics here, who as a group were almost my super pump for this movie.
Hey, guess what?
Yeah, I figured.
Gretchen Wieners is my super pump.
Specifically Gretchen.
Specifically Lacey Chabert.
I believe it's Chabert.
Lacey Sorbet.
I would
She
would pronounce it that if the other option was Chabert.
She is phenomenal in this.
She's great.
She's very good.
Unbelievably funny. And she looks to be somebody who we may spend time with in the future of our podcast, should we ever return to Hallmark, because she's kind of Hallmark's new Aunt Becky.
Yeah.
Now that Aunt
Oh,
Becky is a
boy, I'll
garbage
say,
person.
Woo.
Yeah.
But she's so funny in this.
She's
her
really funny.
her nonverbals, particularly in this, are even funnier than the lines that she delivers.
Except her Caesar and Brutus rant in the class
yes,
is
that's very, very good.
A tier. I mean, top notch.
She's
So
very,
good.
very good.
She was the voice of Eliza Thornberry.
She was. She was also the voice of Zatanna for
In Young Justice, right?
Yeah.
That's why it's an 8-year thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
'cause
season
it's
1,
right.
season 2, and then a big gap in season 3.
Right. Still counting it.
Yeah.
8 years. But yeah, she did that. She was a voice in something else. Oh, by the way, I realized that
Yeah, you
Jason,
gotta
her
say this.
boyfriend, this is embarrassing.
Beyblades?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's the voice of Ray from Beyblade. You
Wow.
looked it up. You didn't watch Beyblade.
Nope. I'm like, what do I do now? He's really excited that I knew that.
It is
Hey, guys,
Beyblade.
here's the thing, though. Damien is Carlos in the Magic School Bus.
No. Jason is Carlos in the Magic School Bus,
Jason is Carlos in the Magic School Bus.
Yeah. which is cool.
Damien's in the fan-made version that he
No,
sent
he's
it to me.
lying. He's
He
lying
sent it
right
to me
now.
on tape.
He's lying right now.
The Eliza Thornberry thing is funny because that's essentially what Katie is.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
it's a good point.
So
It's a great point.
Yeah, but Lacey,
tell me about
Lacey crushes it.
Beyblades though. Let's spend 20 minutes on Beyblades.
One time I got grounded.
You watched the show then.
A little bit. Yeah, I
Okay.
did.
I had a Beyblade.
I had several Beyblades, and I got grounded my junior year of high school for going to Walmart and buying new Beyblades.
Junior year.
Filling my bathtub with ice cubes and Beyblade battling in my bathtub with a friend and scratching all of the paint off the inside of the bathtub. And I was grounded. So, oh, I'm sorry. It was senior year, actually.
There's so many details that I have
I
to
was
unpack.
18. I was an 18-year-old legal man chipping the paint off the inside of my bathtub with Beyblades. And here's the deal. I'd do it again.
Oh,
Hey, you live by yourself with your wife. She can't ground you.
She can't ground me.
can't ground me.
And I'm pretty sure our tub's plastic, so now what? Can't stop me. Yeah, the plastics. Not the plastic of my bathtub, but the plastics of Mean Girls. Regina George, Karen Smith, and Gretchen Wieners.
I mean, this was Amanda Seyfried's first role.
Was it
Wait.
really?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
They're all so good. Like
They're
there's
all really
really
good.
not a weak member of this
No,
cast.
they're all really good. Yeah, didn't Lindsay Lohan originally tried out for the part of Regina George?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mhm. But then they
great.
gave her someone said it's better for good girls to play like the role of a bad girl. And so they got Rachel McAdams.
Ooh, yikes.
That was said post-production.
Yeah, it's Rachel McAdams. I love her in everything. This is the closest I come to hating her because of how good she is at being despicable.
Especially The Notebook, huh?
She's my super pump. I wanted to spread these out a little bit more. I didn't know that Gretchen Wieners was going to be yours, but this would not have been I believe it would not have been such an iconic movie, like comedy movie, if the villain hadn't been so awful.
I agree.
And Rachel McAdams as Regina George,
Horrible.
whoa,
And great.
she's awful.
Yeah.
She's awful, and it is the kind of awful. It's that kind of evil that is so relatable.
Yes.
Because you knew this person.
'Cause you knew this
and
person in
that's
high
what
school.
makes it that is what's so scary about this evil is because it exists big time. Like maybe
Yes.
more in 2019 than in 2004.
There is at one point where she's eating the Caltine bars and she's like, I want to lose 3 pounds. And nobody says anything. And she does this like look at everybody, like say something.
Yes.
And they're all like, oh, what are you talking about? You're so skinny. That whole thing. In that moment, I am so uncomfortable because it's like, oh, I've been around that.
Mm-hmm.
I've been around that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what makes her so uncomfortable, I'm going to go out on a vulnerable limb here. I think maybe we've all been that a little bit at times
Oh, sure.
where we have said the thing hoping for a reaction, or we have like accidentally maybe been more conniving than we wanted to be or whatever. And I think that's what makes her so horrible is the small glimpses you get of like, oh, she's bad and I've done that thing before.
Yeah. And she's got this. Oh, it's so different. But it's like some of the. Okay, this is going to be wild. She's somewhere between, and again, this is a suburban high school girl version. She's somewhere between Hannibal Lecter and the Joker.
Okay.
But because she doesn't really care what happens to you.
Yeah.
But she's so.
But she will eat you later.
Well, it's so thought out.
Yeah.
Like everything that she does that's maniacal has a backup plan.
Right.
Is she lawful evil?
Yeah.
She might be lawful
Like in
evil.
terms of like D&D character alignment?
Yeah, I think so.
What would make it not chaotic? Because it's too
Because
honed
she's
in.
Too
calculated.
meticulous.
She's probably, she's lawful evil.
Oh my gosh, that's like the scariest kind of evil.
I know. Yeah, but she's definitely that. I mean, especially when she starts blaming the book. When the reason that it made my super pump, which is her most villainous moment to me, is when she just starts printing off this stuff and throwing it around the high school.
Yeah, because
How
it is brilliant.
awful is that?
Yeah.
Or the little things that she does to try and get people to hate each other.
The three-way
so-
phone call,
yes, it's
like
so
it's worded
manipulative.
so
Oh my
meticulously.
goodness.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's funny because this is obviously an exaggeration. You know, there is likely not a high schooler that is this evil. But it is a microcosm of these little things that do exist.
It's a caricature, like a state fair caricature where like they exaggerate details so that you can see the truth in the exaggeration.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And isn't there something oddly Shakespearean about this story?
I think there is. And I think it's because it's a moralism at the end of it.
Yeah.
You know, like we get a moral wrap up at the end of it.
Well, and at the times when it's its darkest, when like literally the high school is fighting like wild animals, that's super comical. But then it's also kind of like a farce of how bad the tragedies get in like everyone's dying, like in Shakespeare. You think of like the end of Macbeth or basically Hamlet, like all these people are going to be broken by the end of it, and most of them will die.
Well, and they even reference Julius Caesar at one point during, you know.
Well, it's almost a foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Because Rachel McAdams is going to get betrayed by her own people.
Yeah.
So, E2, Gretchen? E2?
That's very funny.
We're just all thinking about all those Regina Georges we know.
Doge.
Trying to get past that. Doge. There's no way Doge was.
No, not a chance.
He didn't take candy into the movie theater. He didn't even smuggle that stuff, right?
Right.
Doge was such a good boy.
Doge was such a good boy. Hey, while we're on the topic of Regina George, can we talk about Amy Poehler for a second in this movie?
She was almost my super bum.
in the short amount of time that she's on screen,
The
house, the way that she has one of the best lines in the movie to me when she comes in and she's like, no, of course there's no alcohol. What kind of mother do you think I am? Why do you want some though? Because if you're gonna drink, I'd rather you do it here.
See, there's something about that hits close to home for some people, I'm sure too. That's like, I want to be cool mom.
Right,
I want to hang out with you.
Right, and it's not any one concept by itself. It's that with the sweatsuit, with the you girls keep me young. Like
my wife and I refer to that as best friend mom rather than mother mom.
Right. Yeah. Well, she's best friend mom mixed with wine mom, which we have discussed the stereotype of here. That is a 2004 wine mom.
Yeah.
Did you see how she got that dog to bite her boobs?
No.
She cut the end off of a cocktail wiener and put it in her shirt. So that dog, I'm just trying to imagine her provoking this little chihuahua to bite her. Oh my gosh, Amy Poehler is so funny.
Her doing the dance along with the girls while she's got the camera, like watching them. Man, she is, in a movie that already shines pretty brightly, she is a bright, outstanding moment.
A more realistic version of her is what Reese Witherspoon plays in Big Little Lies. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah.
But it's a little more dramatic version of that. But
100%.
it's very, very similar. Everybody knows what she's doing, and she's semi-oblivious to it.
Yeah,
and it's not
very good.
It's technically it's about her, but she makes it about other people. Yeah,
that's very good.
It feels like cheating. So that's the reason this is not my super dump. But I'm gonna dump on how little Amy Poehler we get in this movie.
Sure,
okay.
Yeah,
I could have used a lot more Amy Poehler, and I would have loved a parent-teacher conference between her and
Tim Meadows
and Tina Fey and Tim Meadows.
Yeah.
I understand they're not the stars, so that feels weird to have scenes with only secondary characters because this is Katie's story. But
sure,
I want them. I want that so bad.
This movie is so Tina Fey. Like
Yes.
Tim Meadows is somehow perfect for this role, and no one would have picked him but her.
Dude, I love him in absolutely everything.
Gosh,
He's consistently the funniest person in
He
the
actually
ensemble.
broke his wrist.
Wait, really?
That was a real cast, and he just played it off and ad-libbed because he has carpal tunnel. And Tina's like, cool, we can go ahead and have it in every shot.
Yeah.
That's great.
so
Because he
funny.
literally has it the whole movie.
It's a year-long movie. He's in a carpal tunnel cast in the span of over a year, or about a year.
Because he has it at the dance at the
Which
end.
is so good. Now, he plays the cannibal in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, right? Yeah. That, and then his role as the school district representative in The Office. Tim Meadows is a genius.
His role as the Style Boys manager in Popstar.
Oh my gosh.
Is unbelievable.
I forgot about that.
That's unbelievably good.
He is.
He's so underrated to me.
He really
I can
is.
hear the sound of his voice starting a line and start laughing. He's that funny to me.
Well, and he feels so comfortable in just being that guy.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? It feels like he's just cool to just come and be that guy. Like that's his career. It's probably not overwhelming. People aren't yelling Tim Meadows across the streets in New York.
I would.
I mean,
I
some, but
definitely would.
not as many as like Tina Fey or something like that. So I love that. I love that role. And and Tina Fey and Amy Poehler always do shows that have people full of. Shows full of people like that.
It's weird. I was actually just listening to Dax Shepard has a podcast, and I was just listening to his episode with Nick Kroll, like on the way here today. And Nick Kroll was talking about Amy Poehler, and he was like, her gift is populating the things that she does with people that she cares about. So like people that she knows from UCB, she'll just, hey, come do this thing. Come be in this. And that's why everybody, that's why her
like the best way to do it.
Yes. And that's why everything she does is so full of great guest stars, because she has these relationships with them and everybody jumps at the chance to come work with her again.
Gosh, man.
That's so cool.
I know. And I have
they're
to
not
imagine
just doing
Tina
it
Fey's
because
the
she's
same.
Amy Poehler, the movie star. They're doing it because it's like my friend,
This is my
Amy
friend
Poehler.
Amy. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I didn't know that.
And it's got, that has to translate to Tina as well, because they cut their teeth together. If you don't know this, if you've never watched 30 Rock before, Liz and Jenna's relationship is a parody of Tina and Amy's relationship.
That makes a lot of sense.
And so that like they've been together for a long time. Mm-hmm. But before we either get sidetracked too far into just how great we all think the actors are, or saying how funny every joke is, I'd like to take a quick pit stop off into the land of shout announcements.
Y'all!
Welcome to Shout Announcements, the part of the show where we give shout outs and make announcements.
The table shook with that welcome.
I had to push myself back.
When you say welcome here and when you say hello and welcome, I never know how high your voice is going to go.
It's amazing.
I like to keep people guessing.
It's like when you hit that thing at like a Dave and Buster's and it's like, how hard did you hit it with the hammer?
Up to the bell, yeah.
Up to the bell every time.
I do my best.
There's got to be an actual name for that, but none of us know it.
It's the bell hammer
thing where it's
strong boy game.
How hard did you hit it with a hammer thing?
It's got the game has to be called Are You Strong?
Oh my God, babe! It's the how hard you hit it with a hammer thing. Let's go.
we gotta get tickets. Prize tickets. I wasn't insinuating that you have to purchase tickets.
We
were
all worried about that.
I want to make sure that you guys know that I know what stuff is.
We thought this was going to be a shorter shout announcement.
Hey, speaking of, we want to give a shout out to Tyler Station because we out here. And by out here, I mean in here right now, recording in it. Also want to give a shout out to Crumb and Kettle.
Yes.
Because we're sipping on that coffee.
Always.
And a final shout out to Podbean. We pay you money. We put stuff on you. Podbean. Mostly our podcast.
.com. Didn't discuss this with the boys before saying it, but I do want to
How dare you go rogue.
want to give a big shout out to our 2 fans that we have in here with us. They're very silent, blowing air around. These are fans like rotating fans,
with the
not
spinny arms.
People who really love our show.
Yeah.
They're very quiet, blowing a lot of air and keeping it cool in here. When you give the next, this isn't not how it goes.
Please,
not a shout out. It's an announcement.
What I gotta go?
Keep going. We can't lose any of this.
Hey, landlubbers. You ready to get your sea legs?
Goodness.
Next week, we start our new series. It lasts for a whole month, and it's the most pirate month of all. And so we're calling our next series Shiver Me Septembers.
Oh my goodness.
We're reviewing 4 pirate movies.
Yep.
The last of which is considered one of the biggest box office flops in U.S. cinema history. And it fails so spectacularly at being a pirate movie that it falls outside of the pirate month and releases October 1st.
I can't wait to watch that.
Those 4 movies are Muppet Treasure Island, Hook, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, and Cutthroat Island, starring Gina Davis.
Gina Davis and a bunch of other people.
Very gonna
good. Be a fun time.
Tune in next week.
Guys, we are 8 reviews away.
Oh my gosh.
From 200.
That's crazy.
This
feels
is wild.
real.
Yeah, I mean, we're almost there. We've got a month and a half.
Wow.
Until we can start. Wow. I think that's the first time I've said that.
Wow.
So there's 6 weeks, and then we put our application in and send that out. Who knows how long the turnover is, but thank you so much for the continued support for that. Keep them coming.
Yeah.
A specific shout out to Philip Page. So Phil had texted me a couple nights ago and was like, how many reviews do y'all have left? And at the time it was 12. Now it's 8. And he's making it a little extra credit assignment. He's a teacher. So back to school is appropriate for him to be stepping up right now. But he's made it a little assignment. I think it's 10 extra credit points if they can listen and give an honest review. And so I'm waiting to see some of those because it usually takes a while
to
see the actual review after it's been counted.
Yeah.
So thank you, Phil. Thank you for taking that initiative and doing what you're called to do. Teach and take that and use that as an advantage for your friends who have a podcast.
Yes. Hopefully your students have an easier time earning extra credit than Jordan and I do on Mini Monday.
Jeez.
Oh my gosh.
No joke.
Good point. It'll come back, guys. We're going to get it.
Yes.
Cutthroat Island.
Speaking of coming
We'll
back.
pick 3 actors from Cutthroat Island.
Speaking of coming back, let's go back to the show. And we're back!
Whoa. Okay.
You said you didn't know how high my voice was going to be.
I guess I didn't know
I
how
want to
high it
keep
was
you
going to
guessing.
be. Yeah.
Hey, so I want to talk about the plot to ruin Regina George's life.
Yep.
It
Okay.
takes up the bulk.
3 simple steps.
Yeah, it takes up the bulk of the middle of this movie.
I feel like that's kind of, well, yeah, I guess it's not the whole plot.
So here's what I'm learning about myself is if it could even have a dotted line kind of drawn to a heist.
Dude.
I'm
This is so heisty.
So anything with like a plan and steps, I think I just like steps.
Well, and
Or
there's
lists.
always this like nice high energy music in the background usually when those steps are being made. I love that whole vibe.
Yes. Anything with like a little bit of a like hi-hat maraca combo. I don't know what I'm saying.
Oceans. I mean, it's oceans.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
Yes.
But with that heist vibe, it makes everything feel so high stakes. And I think that's why I like it so much. And it
Yeah.
works well here. because they got that plan.
Yeah.
So the first thing they got to do, what's the first step? Is it ruin her relationship with Aaron?
I think that might have been the first step. Or is that the last step? No.
Last step is body, perfect body or whatever. So I think it's relationship, plastics, perfect body.
Basically.
So they got to ruin a relationship, and they do that by revealing that she has been cheating on Aaron Samuels with some dude in the projector room.
And they keep trying to get her to go up there, or him up there.
Right. So Damien stealing the purse is very funny to me because he wears a mask. Who else would it be?
Yeah.
Right.
He's the biggest dude at the school.
Well, that's the same thing when Santa walks into the room.
Right.
Yeah.
It's obvious.
Right.
And nothing for Gretchen Wieners.
Right. One of the best moments. There's some quotes from this movie that blew up, I think, for no other reason than they're just kind of funny. Like you go Glen Coco. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or she doesn't even go here's pretty funny.
Yep.
But none for Gretchen Wieners. It's the combination of her name, again, but also the fact that as though anybody who delivers anything is like, package for you, and you don't get one, and you don't get It's a binary. It's
None
you're
for
getting
Gretchen
one
Wieners,
or
bye.
you don't.
Yep.
You don't is what I just said. But they ruin her relationship. Check. There we go.
Yes.
We move on.
That's the guy from Pacific Rim.
Damien?
No, the guy that is making out with her in the projector room.
Wait, what?
That dude, I recognize that guy. He's also
Shane something, whatever his character name is.
Yeah.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah. He's like the general. Obviously not Idris Elba, but he's like,
And not Charlie Hunnam.
wow, sorry.
Interesting.
That's crazy.
So, relationship ruined. Katie's moving in on Aaron.
Yep.
So there's that whole
Caddy.
thing.
I think it's Caddy.
Caddy's moving in
That's
on
so good.
Ron. And then they got to ruin her relationship with the plastics. This is my favorite step of the process because so much happens here.
Yep.
This is all around Christmas time, which means it's just better. I don't know why, but it is.
Sure. If you have, most high school movies need to have a little Christmas or winter session.
Yes.
We missed that when it wasn't in Harry Potter. When we get to the later ones and we don't have Christmas anymore.
That's right.
Christmas just stops happening
Yep.
when Voldemort
Where's
comes to
where's
power.
the
I guess.
butterbean?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it makes
Well,
sense.
it's like Narnia. It's always winter, but never Christmas.
Yeah.
So the plot to pull apart the plastics is so good, but I want to talk about the Christmas dance that they do.
Mm.
Can we talk about the four-way phone call that happens first?
Oh, yeah. No, that's really great, too.
It's so good. That's all I want to say about it.
It
It's
is
amazing.
so good. Karen forgetting to switch lines.
That's a highlight for Karen, I think. That
Yes.
highlights her mainly. She almost stole the show to me.
I agree.
At times.
Amanda
times.
I feel like
Seyfried,
there's every member of the plastics goes through. Like,
Honestly, that's a good
you
point.
might be the best part of this.
Honestly,
Right,
that's
yeah.
a good point.
well, and I think there's an argument to be made that Rachel McAdams and Amanda Seyfried are probably the two best actresses in the plastics, probably in the movie. But
I could see that.
I mean, they all shine, I think, is
Yeah.
the important thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Karen is brilliant. Not as a person. But we get to the dance and it's just so funny. Like the parents' reactions to how grotesque the dance is and what they're wearing is absurd and the reversed choreography and kicking the boombox into Jason's face, which is so here's the boombox thing. That boombox fills the entire auditorium with enough sound for them to know what the dance is. They don't have monitors pointing at them. That
Yep.
slapback's got to be crazy.
That's why this is my super dump. Technically, no, it's not.
And then it's got to be made out of styrofoam to fly that hard into Jason's face when she kicks it. And yet I don't care about any of those things because
Yeah.
of how funny it is.
Oh, no. I mean, I think when we have the mall scene before this, where they basically become wild animals, that kind of recurring theme there gives us room to do whatever we want in this world.
We haven't really even talked about how brilliant it is to keep comparing high school to like the Serengeti.
Right.
Like,
Because that's basically all she's known.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's such a good, and we mentioned when we were watching last night how fun it must have been to film those scenes when
Oh,
everybody's like screaming
Jeez,
and
yeah.
yelling
Yeah.
and all those things. That must have been a ton of fun.
For sure. And
The
I
facial expressions kill me. in
Aaron
those.
Samuels roaring
Yes.
like a lion is
Yeah.
so funny.
oh my gosh. And or like a monkey or
He's a
whatever that
monkey,
is.
screeching
I think
like a
it's
monkey.
Oh, that's
screeching
right.
like a
That's what it
monkey.
is. Yeah,
He does it well.
he does. He does a great job. Has that dude done anything since this movie?
I don't know. He's probably just looked pretty on other shows.
Yeah. He does a great job of looking pretty, especially with his hair pushed back.
I'll get back to you on a little bit. I'll go look at that.
Fair enough.
Keep going.
His hair or his credits?
Now, as Katie becomes more involved in the plastics and becomes more pink and frilly and puts in hair extensions and all of those things.
The host of Cake Wars.
Wait, really?
Mhm.
Interesting. I do feel the need now to place my super dump.
Do it.
I feel pretty strongly about this, and I think it might be a little spicy, so I'm prepared. Lindsay Lohan's my super dump.
Okay.
For this movie.
Okay.
I think she's the weakest member of the whole cast, and I feel like you could have almost had any actress play Katie Heron and been fine. Like, she is the most interchangeable. Like, could not imagine anybody else as Regina, Karen, or Gretchen. Like, all of these people fit their characters so well, and I feel like you could have had pretty much any person play Katie Heron, and it would have been the same movie.
Yeah.
Or
That is
better.
tough. Yeah, I can see what you're saying, but I don't know. With such a cult classic like Mean Girls, it's hard to say you can replace anybody.
I know.
I mean, it
It's
feels
like, well, so Princess Bride would have been better if Inigo Montoya was played, but it's
sure,
like,
I hear you.
Yeah.
But we're only saying that now. We're only saying that because we've had 15 years of seeing Lindsay Lohan on the cover and as Katie. But
True.
if we're just watching it for the first time and it's not Lindsay Lohan, I don't think we're going, now what's the missing piece? Why
Lindsay.
is it?
Lindsay
It should have been
Lohan's the
Lindsay.
missing piece.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I get
I think
that.
you're exactly
I
right.
get
And I
that.
think a perfect example of it is, I would call Easy A very like kind of modern version of Mean Girls in a way.
Sure.
A movie that is almost just as strong to me and just as funny. And if you take
Emma Stone.
Emma Stone, thank you. If you take Emma Stone out of the role, it's not the same movie anymore.
Yeah. Honestly, Emma Stone as Katie would have been
Would have been perfect. Yeah, sure.
okay. I see it.
Yeah.
It's
I
just
see that
none
too.
of the laughs are coming from Lindsay. None of the like
They're not,
big
but
moments.
that's why I'm having a hard time with it, because isn't she just supposed to be the canvas? When is the canvas the funniest part?
Yeah.
Sure, I totally hear you, but
she's Harry. Any actor could have played Harry Potter.
right.
You know what I mean?
But she's also the star power.
Yeah.
I mean, so
That's
was Dan
what's weird.
Rad.
No, he was not.
I think he super was.
At 12,
No.
That's
like
what I'm-
okay.
this is
Yeah.
the first Mean Girl. It's
Okay.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the only one. No, I know it's not, but it is.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. She's the weakest point of the whole movie to me.
Yeah. I mean, I see it.
I want to talk about the sort of breakdown of the whole plan at the end when everything falls apart.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
this
great.
is
And this is a pretty often used storyline in terms of the protagonist essentially becoming the antagonist.
yeah,
This kind of
Yeah.
transformative.
and that's a good flip.
Mhm.
It's done well here.
It is. Yeah.
I appreciate the nuance, like the subtlety that we say whenever she talks to Janice outside of her home. And he's like, you don't pretend like you're any better than the plastics. You know what I mean? I
Right.
love that we kind of put that, like, nobody's really doing the right thing. Everybody's being horrible.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Could it have been that there was something that Regina George just saw in Katie the very first time she saw her to be like, she's moldable?
Yeah.
So I was like, we could probably get her.
I think they probably saw
They
a
both
pretty
saw
girl that
that.
they hadn't
Yeah.
claimed.
Yeah.
And I think that Janice and Damien probably saw a pretty girl that they didn't want to see get claimed.
Sure.
I think
And
it's
so-
on Outcast that hadn't been claimed. You know what I mean? I think like it's nobody's
Right.
acting in Katie's best interest. Everybody
Sure.
is acting in their own clique's best interest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think at the heart of this movie is a clique-based story, even though it kind of goes beyond that eventually. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it's sort of a tribal, like, my
Yeah.
thing is more important
Yeah.
than the other thing. And we're doing the same thing, but we're better because we're the right ones or
Right.
whatever.
Exactly.
It's interesting. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it like that. You're smart, dude. Has
Thanks,
anybody,
man.
hey, Doge,
Thanks.
has anybody ever told you that you know things?
No, I'm not that smart.
Yeah, it's probably true.
No, you are. Oh my God, you're so smart.
Oh, yeah, no, you're so skinny. I mean, smart.
Thank you, guys.
That was good. I like the Caltine bar plotline. I think it's funny when she finally realizes what has been done to her.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in like Swedish or something.
Yeah.
Even though she was just told they're Swedish. It's little moments like that make it dangerous for me to get caught up in how funny small things in this movie are, because I'll just talk about it forever.
I don't love the Caltine thing. Something about that feels like, as somebody who did get bigger than he wished he did in high school, that feels maybe that's a little close to home. Where it's just like,
Sure.
you know what I mean? Like, there's something about that felt a little insensitive to people who maybe do struggle with their weight in high school. But
No, I hear that. I just think
I think there was a lot of, and I don't want to call anything that's insensitive appropriate for the plot, but I think there's a lot of, you're supposed to feel icky.
yes.
That's
Yeah.
like, this is high school.
yeah,
But yeah, I would say if there was anything to not have, that would probably be the best one.
Well, and we were watching it, and we're trying to watch our waistlines right now, so we're very calorie conscious. And so you just heard a room full of calorie conscious people go when they said 5,000 calories a day in the movie yesterday. It was very funny.
That's funny.
It was probably not the intended reaction of that moment. Right.
I probably consumed 5,000 calories for dinner yesterday, though I did eat a whole pizza. Just for me. Just the boy.
Well, after 5 pieces of pizza, it starts going backwards. Did you know that?
I think so.
So you start retracting some of the calories you've
I had
had.
2 pieces.
Right. Well,
Because the calories fight each other and then they both die.
It balances out, actually, I think, because it's essentially like when you push more Play-Doh in the top of like a Play-Doh thing with like the holes at the bottom. Like it's just it's not more in, it's just some is coming out as you're pushing the new Play-Doh in.
You've just described pooping.
That's what it is.
That's what that is.
Okay. I've never thought about it that way. Has anybody ever told you how smart you are?
Oh, guys, I'm not that smart.
You're so skinny.
No, you're so smart.
It feels like we just did this.
Do you think Glee? Did you ever watch Glee?
I've seen it here and there.
I've seen all of it. Started in 2009.
Yeah.
There are so many similarities in the vibe outside of the singing part. I wonder if Glee would have happened if Mean Girls had not happened.
Interesting.
Do you think Easy A would have happened if Mean Girls hadn't happened?
That I don't think.
I probably do.
You think Easy A would have existed outside of... Okay, interesting.
Yeah, is Mean Girls the template or is Mean Girls another iteration of like The Breakfast Club?
It is probably closer to that to me.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the template because we had successful high school movies before, but it was a modern day template. I mean, it was because culture changes.
Yeah.
And so you're going to have a new template at some point.
Sure.
And that's what a lot of these shows are trying to do, like Pin 15 and some of these shows, the streaming services have their own high school show. Like it always happens that way.
Yeah.
Not like that was the sweetest. Yeah. Like Riverdale or something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
There's always going to be the sports based one. There's going to be the one that's supernatural. And then there's going to be the one that's actually clicky and funny.
Like Friday Night Lights, Supernatural, and Clicky and Funny.
Yep.
My 3 favorite shows.
Funny, my favorite show.
It's all of them.
Right, sure.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
So
the Vampire Sayer. Buffy's just like, vampire. Vampire.
How many different ways? So
It's a good show.
Regina gets mad.
Like, when she screams,
It's very funny.
So funny.
Yes.
She writes her own name in the book. She uses a very funny word that I don't know that we feel comfortable saying on this podcast, but it's so funny to me.
Yes.
And
have you guys seen the meme that came out? I think it was about 10 minutes after the Game of Thrones series finale aired, where Game of Thrones spoilers, sorry, writes that in the King's Card book
about Jamie.
Yes.
It's so good.
Yes.
But she causes this ruckus. And she throws the papers. Everybody gets in trouble. They start to fight. Tim Meadows smashes a fire alarm.
Oh, I did not leave.
That was so good. And then they're all in the gym.
Yeah.
This is one of the best scenes in the whole movie.
This is iconic.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say iconic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tina Fey runs this scene.
Oh,
yeah, she's so good in this.
She is in control here.
Yep.
And, but I also think that it's interesting, like, this feels like the point where she was like, now's my message. Now's my part where I get to write to the audience a little bit of like, we got to stop being so mean. We got to stop hurting each other. Like,
Here
this is pointless.
So this is
The story of a girl?
Yeah. The story of my super dump, actually, is how at the last minute this movie turns really heavy-handed in a way that doesn't feel like it super matches everything that's come before. The first 3/4, 80% of this movie. Carter, you made a point earlier about how it like trusts the audience enough to make its own connections.
Yeah.
I don't feel like we do that at the end when we're just like, and honestly, everyone, it's way better to be nice all the time because friends are better than enemies. And it's just like really heavy-handed.
And it almost feels like the lesson that they've learned, they're just kind of groupthink, like going with emotions because everybody else is.
Right.
Like when they're doing the trust falls and things like that. And then but that's because it's going back to just being a fall out of your chair comedy, like funny.
But so I'm going to let you have your own super dump, but like to me, it is written that way because it is to a group of high schoolers.
Yeah.
That's who she's addressing in that moment. And they may need that spelled out as high schoolers a little bit.
I think within the text, it's fine.
Sure.
It works. But
Just
as a thesis for the movie, this doesn't feel like it tonally goes with everything else to me.
It's fair. Do love the scene though.
Yeah, it's very good. And I don't dislike the scene. There's just, this is the one thing that's like, that feels like maybe it wasn't executed as well as it could have been.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
But again, it's Mean Girls and I'm just me. So
yeah, you got to find it. So Tim Meadows raises his hand when everybody has been victimized by Regina George. Don't know why I think that's so funny, but
she tries to play a victim in front of everybody.
And then they do all these trust falls. We get She Doesn't Even Go Here. Yes. We get diarrhea in Barnes and Nobles. It's just all very funny. Mm-hmm. And then Regina George runs away and gets hit by a bus.
I love that. I love that. When is there? Maybe there is often. I'm just trying to think of a comedy that I've seen before that had such a morbid twist.
I know.
But it felt like it.
Sixth Sense?
It felt like it felt like it belonged there, though. You know? It doesn't seem out of place. It's like, and all the foreshadowing.
I think one of the reasons I don't love Lindsay Lohan in this is how flatly she delivers. And that's how Regina George died. No, I'm just kidding. Wouldn't that be crazy? She was fine.
Yeah. The more I think about it, she's not good in this. Yeah.
It's that and her speech with the tiara at the end when she's like, "You look so pretty tonight. Seriously."
You all do. That hairdo, it must have taken hours.
If that hairdo took hours, fire your hair.
Get new hair if that took you hours.
It's a tight ponytail.
Oh, man.
Chill.
Go to the hair store and ask for your money back.
Yeah. Gosh. Get a refund on that hair bun. That's my new thing.
I love it.
That's my new thing.
I hate it.
So, yeah, she gets grounded, but she's bad at it. She wins the math-a-thon.
My super dump's here. Because we're supposed to have this, like, her realization and a change back. Oh, what have I become?
Right.
Kind of thing. And it's at the expense of just kind of tearing apart this girl that she's against.
Sure.
And it didn't land for me. Like, it doesn't feel like she learned a lesson.
No,
because I don't even think in her lines she apologizes about saying those awful things about that girl.
Wow, that was mean. She's like, but it won't make me better than her.
Right. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah. I never thought about that.
So there's no confirmation she's learned any kind of lesson here, but it won't make me better than her. And it even ties to at the end, the fact of her terrorizing people, that never leaves. Like, that's going to be a part of her narrative. She says that's what she's learned. So when these new juniors come in, she'll wreck them too. Because remember how we wrecked Regina and she got a neck brace and broke her everything, right? So I was like, man, I get what they were trying to do, because it's like the boys picked the girl to be the last one. Oh, who do we think is the weakest? Who do we think is the weakest? Oh, that actually turns out to be strongest. So everything that was happening around her specifically was great ending to the story. So she is not redeemed to me.
I agree with you. I want to jump on something real quick. It's sort of a tangent here in this scene. Do you ever feel like sometimes movies are so funny that the general audience latches onto lines that aren't funny because it's just expected that everything's supposed to be funny?
You can talk about The Limit Does Not Exist.
Dude, why is that considered funny?
That's not funny.
I see people quote The Limit Does Not Exist as though they're being like, who am I supposed to build ramps for now from Hot Rod? And it's like, you know that's not a joke, that's right? She's just solving a math problem.
Yeah.
Like, I get why October 3rd is funny because the character has significance to it.
Yes.
And there's nothing significant. But like, The Limit Does Not Exist. The Limit Does Not Exist isn't a joke.
No.
Yeah,
she's solving the math problem. Yeah. But I feel like so many people have been like, The Limit Does Not Exist.
Yeah.
Come on.
All those turkeys that watch this movie.
You know what I mean? And so...
It's bad.
But do you get what I'm saying?
Yes,
like, sometimes
I do.
Sometimes they're like, it's a funny movie, so every word's funny. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I thought that last night as I was watching
it. It's weird, right?
That's not a joke from this.
Sure. So anyway, she goes to it's prom. They don't call it prom, but it's prom. And then she wins prom queen.
Is prom like copyrighted or something? Could they not
like
call
the
it
big
prom?
Game? Spring whatever. Spring fling is the big game.
Yeah. Could they not call it prom?
I think spring fling is fun because of phonetically spring fling queen. And
that
spring fling queen or
you
king.
said that twice. There it is.
And that one. See how funny that was? And we wouldn't have had that if it was called. We wouldn't have had that if it was called prom.
It could have been the prom bomb.
I'm just defending it because it was almost my super prom. The name of the.
Wait, really?
No.
Oh, good grief. So we have arrived at the end of this movie, and I think it's time to rate it.
And first of all, we'll say sorry, but not sorry. We're not going to mention. There's so many of you listening. Maybe 89% of you are going to say, but what about this part? Under the lights here and under the pressure of only having an hour to talk about a movie like this, I'm sorry if we missed it.
We could very easily go through scene by scene and be like, hey, that part, That's so good.
Yeah,
Right.
Take the additional 2 hours that we could tack onto this episode and just go watch Mean Girls again.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
For sure.
So anyway, we here at Two Chunks and a Hunk have used science like the one from Katie's school.
Same one.
Yeah. Probably a little bit of math too. Mathleticism.
Mathletism.
To create the scientific cinema scale, which is scientifically the perfect way to rate movies. And it is as follows. The best thing we can ever say about a movie is own it, don't lend it, buy that poster. The next best thing, that's buy it. Followed by rent it, and then stream it. After that is forget it, and last, but certainly least, the worst thing we could ever say about a movie. God hath forsaken us. Who'd like to go first?
Me. Buy the poster.
Wow.
And I promise when I was watching this movie, I knew going in, that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I had to, even with a critical eye, be like, okay, don't just do this because of what it means culturally.
Sure.
Still buy the poster.
Okay.
It is, yeah. It just sets the stage for it. I think any high school type thing after 2004 is going to be compared to Mean Girls.
I think that's fair.
In some way.
I think so.
Or there's even a character that shows up in some other environment that you're like, wow, that's so much like Damien. Wow, that's totally a Regina. Like,
That's fair.
and that's amazing. I give credit to the influence that this was. And it is just a ode to Tina Fey.
Sure.
Yeah.
It is some of her best work. And boy, is that saying a lot.
Right. Yeah.
So buy the poster.
Yeah. She's got quite the portfolio.
Oh, yeah.
This will be a poster from me as well. And I'm here with a prediction for you guys.
What?
By the time our children, which none of us have,
It's true.
are in high school, this will be a movie that feels to them the way Ferris Bueller's Day Off feels to us. When they have 2000s Day for their Spirit Week, they're going to come dressed as characters from Mean
As the
Girls.
plastics. Wow.
Yes.
That's a good point.
This is wild.
Yep.
That's a good point.
That I'm going out on a limb. Nostradamus, predicting the future. So there's going to be a poster from me.
Yeah, I'm torn. I thought I had my answer before we sat down to talk about the podcast, but the more we talk about the movie, rather, but the more we've talked, the more I've started to lean another way. And I'm gonna stick with it.
Do it.
This movie's a buy it for me.
Okay.
When I sat down, it was going to be a poster, but the more we talked, the more I realized that most of the things that I love about it, I still love about it, but there are just things that pop up when I watch it that are like, it's not perfect to me.
Yeah.
But I really can't stress how much I love this movie enough.
Sure.
So yeah, it's going to be a buy it for me. It's one of the funniest movies out there.
And I think with that rating, that makes Back to School our most positively reviewed series.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe of all time.
I think it is. I never felt this way. Now, director, the chooser's choice was really high.
Yeah, that was.
I don't know if any of us did anything less than a buy it on some of these movies.
For
there
Chooser's
weren't-
Choice? I don't think
There
so.
weren't that many
No.
posters, though, I don't think.
Yeah.
Right.
So if it won by like 2 posters.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's fun. That'd be fun to keep track of
Yeah.
somehow. But yeah, I was only a buy it for Ferris Bueller, and y'all were both buying the poster. So,
Yeah.
and of the 4, the one that we all bought the poster was School of Rock. How fun is that?
It makes
Yeah.
total sense.
Yeah.
Just to who we
Because
are.
of who we are as people.
It
and then we
makes
all
total
bought
sense.
Dead Poets.
We did.
Ferris Bueller was 2 buys,
And a
Mean
poster.
Girls is 2 buys.
two posters and a buy, and then 2 posters and a buy. Got
Right.
it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very
I mean, that's got to be the
Wow.
highest one.
Yeah, I think you're right. To end today's episode. To end today's episode, there's nothing more high school than pool parties. And there's nothing more pirates than cannonballs. And you cannonball into swimming pools.
Whoa.
So, what I would like us to do is to each say our name and to name a new dive after something piratey.
What?
I've already got one. I've got one.
For Two Chunks and a Hunk, I'm Jordan Wonders, and the half mast is a cannonball, but you're bent over at your waist like the shape of the letter U. And you enter the water both feet and hands first.
This is amazing.
I'm Doge, and the hottest new move taking all the pools by storm is to do the pieces of 8, where you jump off a diving board and hold up 8 fingers, and when you land, you pee in the pool.
Pieces of I'm Carter, and mine's going to be called the Muppet Treasure Island. You know that smaller friend you have? Find them. Y'all jump off together, stick your arm about halfway up their butt, and just say your favorite line, or have them say your favorite line from Muppet Treasure Island. It's going to take a while. Make sure it's a nice springy board. But if you can pull it off, 10. 10.